Our conversation about Little League Baseball and softball, too, brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And on the line with us this morning, Matt Mookie Wilson, the president of the Homer City Area Athletic Booster Club. Joe Walkovich is the president of the Indiana Little League, and Joe has, of course, some statewide Little League affiliations as well. Let's punch them up, get them on the line here. There's one. There's the other. Gentlemen, are you both there with me this morning?
Yes. Hi, Tom.
Good. All right. Well, Joe, let's start with you this morning. President of the Little League, and, of course, you have other responsibilities with the state. You have been involved with Little League for, what, about 1,000 years, Joe?
Pretty close to that.
You've been an officer for Indiana Little League since 1990. You've been the district administrator since 2012. And Joe, of course, we talk about Little League making the decision last week as a whole to cancel the World Series, to cancel the big statewide tournaments, and we want to bring this down to the local level and to talk about that because this is really big, and people are wondering, well, does that mean I have no Little League baseball this year?
Well, it's a great question, and just to put it in context, the way the Little League tournament structure works, after the regular season concludes, the first level play is at districts, which we are in District 7, which today includes Indiana County, 6 leagues. The winner of districts moves on to sections. There are 4 sections, or 4 districts in each section. The winner of section moves on to states. There are 8 sections. The winner of states moves on to regionals, and then the winner of regionals ultimately goes to the World Series. So that's across each and every Little League division that there is. So the action taken by Little League last Thursday was to cancel the World Series and regional tournaments. And that was followed up on Saturday with the PA Association of District Administrators, who then promptly canceled, after due consideration, both sections and states. So what we're left to deal with is a regular season and districts. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, when you step back from that, it makes sense given the varying degrees of complications around the COVID-19 pandemic across the state. It would be very difficult to ask people to travel, whether or not it's even safe, because everybody have a different opinion about how safe it really is. So the good news is we do expect on District 7, we had a meeting last evening, including Matt, all 6 leagues in District 7, and that is Blairsville, Clymer, Homer City, Indiana, Marion Center, and Young Township. And we have full intent to proceed with a delayed regular season, delayed start to a regular season. And based on the projections that we have available to us and to the general public around Governor Wolf's state of red, yellow, and green phases, we would anticipate to be in a position to kick off a regular season at the beginning of June, probably play a regular season in June and July, and finish with the district all-star tournament. Mm-hmm. That's assuming that once you're in green, and you have to be in green to get that far, that's assuming that, it's conducive to play baseball.
Yeah.
I know everyone, it's difficult sometimes to deal with uncertainty, but people deal with uncertainty every day. They just don't realize that it doesn't smack them in the face like COVID-19 does.
Yeah, exactly. Matt, of course, you're involved in all of this as well. As Joe said, you were on that call last night talking about it with the other folks from here in Indiana County. Decision-wise, is it an easy decision to keep going, or is it one of those situations where you say, it changes every single day, so we're blessed with time, and let's just hang with it for a while?
No, it was nice to kind of come up with a game plan so we can sit down and actually give our parents an idea of what's going to go on.
Yeah, I would guess, because everybody has these questions, and we're working off of scenarios, as Joe said. Are we green by that time? It's all dependent upon other decision makers, and those other decision makers are basing their decisions on numbers that are coming in and statistics that are coming in. So there's so much uncertainty, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there ultimately is, but I think if you follow the guidelines, whether you believe whatever you believe about what they're telling you. You wear a mask out in public, and you do all those things. We're pretty well positioned. I mean, a reasonable man would say, it's possible we lose the whole season. It's possible we play as planned. I think it's a lot more probable, which is probably the operative word, that we play as we're discussing, if people do the right thing between now and then, do the social distancing, follow the CDC guidelines, and practice, what in the old days I would refer to, 999 years ago, I'd refer to as common sense. Yeah.
Well, May 11th was a date that was thrown out originally as the date when you could resume Little League activities. And just in terms of organizing and getting things set to go, is that May 11th date still valid? Or
yes, May 11th. Actually, there was an earlier date. It was at the end of April, and then that was extended to May 11th. That has not changed. And that May 11th date refers specifically to team activities. Believe me, my email and text messages boxes are full of recommendations from Little League. What people don't necessarily know is that on Thursday, I guess it was April 30th, Little League made the announcement. Friday morning, they have done a ton of work as an organization. And I'll be honest with you, at times I'm critical about them trying to over-control. But they have done extensive amounts of work to try to assist leagues to kick off a regular season. Uncharacteristic of Little League, typically, they have relaxed multiple rules and requirements in terms of what I call paperwork, and have highly encouraged leagues to do what they can to get the kids out playing baseball. What we'd call today a late regular season, as long as it's safe to do so. It's interesting. If you've been in this for 1,000 years, playing in June and July is kind of like it's what we used to do in the old days.
Yeah.
It's new to people today that are young parents probably, but it's certainly not new.
Yeah, we're used to seeing ball fields that are abandoned by June or July, and
exactly.
We scratch our heads and say, "What? When I was a kid, it just never was that way. Those ballparks were loaded, but it's just not that way anymore." Hey, Matt, you of course also the new Homer Center softball coach, and your season certainly affected. You were canceled along with all of the other spring sports. That just has to have been devastating for you, but for your team members. And we're thinking about, the safety of the kids. That's the overriding aspect of all of this. But still, the fact that they lose out on a season has to have been really, really upsetting.
Yes, I was looking forward to coaching. It was my daughter's senior year, so she lost that. So it was a tough situation to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you lose out on that. And speaking of softball, of course, the softball tournaments that are held around here in the summertime, which bring in so much revenue, but again, you think that's secondary to the health of all concerned. But Tom Harley brings these huge tournaments. He brings in 2 tournaments a year, and the revenue that they're able to generate and the monies that they make for our hotels and restaurants and all of that, that's affected by this. And ultimately, kids playing sports is affected because if you lose out on this opportunity, maybe you don't come back to it. And I know that has to be a risk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now
the softball tournaments, Todd, are rescheduled to August tentatively. Again, they'll be impacted because in that case you have teams traveling from a lot further away than Indiana County.
Yeah.
Play. So we don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but they're tentatively rescheduled for the first 2 weekends in August, I think, Matt. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes with time. But, the other thing, I think at large, if my kids are still home, and my youngest one's 35, so that's been a while. As tough as it may seem not to be able to get out, it's a great opportunity for kids to spend time with their parents should they choose to do so in a meaningful way. I think these kids today will be ready to go play. I think people will be starved to get out of the house.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To do so.
That's a really good point. And so what do parents of Little Leaguers in Indiana County need to know right now in terms of, dates when they can look for information and what some of the things are that they can be doing right now?
Well, as we concluded our call last evening, and Matt can correct me along the way or help me along the way, however you want to think of it, I agreed that I would put together a letter as the DA, because I am the quote-unquote local authority for the district, and I would send it to each league president, including Matt, that outlines the plan to move forward. Now, most of these leagues, you need to realize, as you said earlier, we're usually, halfway through the season at this point. We'll have to go back to their constituents, the players, the registrations, see who's still in, who's not. We'll recraft a number of teams as necessary, and then put together a schedule, and hope that green is a go as anticipated by the end of May. I think it was around the 29th or 30th. If you listen to everything from the governor's conference to keep track of that, we should be in a position to start the season June 1st, hopefully play through July or near the end of July, and conclude with a district all-star tournament. If the start of the regular season, call it the delayed regular season by today's standards, is pushed back a week or two, then we'll have to decide whether we're doing an all-star tournament or whether we're accelerating the number of games per week. So it should look pretty normal other than a delayed start and the fact that whoever wins districts in any division, that's the end of the line, as opposed to moving on to sections. There is no sections and further up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, gentlemen, it's a year unlike any other, and certainly it will be for Little League as well. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, and check in with us if need be, okay?
All right. Take care.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM. 101.1 FM.